All right, we'll move to the question that will be burning in Notre Dame fans for the next like 5-ish, maybe actually less than 5, probably 4 months now, or 3 or 3.5.
I mean, it probably will carry on into the season for some.
Ooh, that would be probably the worst case scenario almost. And I'm looking at it from both ways, where it's like the starting quarterback's not playing well, or it was such a close battle in the spring. We got 2 really good guys, but regardless, CJ Carr and Kenny Minchey are the last 2 quarterbacks left standing from the 3-man battle over the spring. Do you have a lean on who you would rather see or who you think will win?
So I don't necessarily have a lean, and maybe I do, but do you want to do a fun exercise with me on it? How about each one of us take a quarterback and just sort of make a general case for why you think that should be the starter, and I'll let you have your pick between the 2, and we'll kind of look at it as far as like make your case. We don't have any game film to go off of. We have recruiting rankings, which at this point in the game aren't necessarily that important. But make your case for one of the 2 quarterbacks. I'll let you pick.
My personal pick would be CJ Carr. And I'll start with the case. And this is zero disrespect to Kenny Minchey, because I think he is the truth. I saw that spring game on Peacock, and I enjoyed it thoroughly. The backflip, the rushing ability, there was something there with Kenny Minchey that I think either way it's good. But with CJ Carr, I feel like he solved some issues for Notre Dame that a lot of quarterbacks, even in the last handful of years, haven't been able to do. I think it comes down to arm talent, ability, and just simply his confidence. Maybe the confidence comes from the pedigree, the family, the being in football all of his life. I'm sure Kenny Minchey's played football all of his life too, but maybe it comes from that. But what I do know is that his arm talent is next level. And we have seen that he had some amazing throws in the spring game. And I think despite the interception, despite the wanting to throw it in over the middle after the pocket is collapsing on him, he has the ability to make every single throw across the field. And when we were getting Sam Hartman and getting Riley Leonard in the transfer portal, we thought we were getting that from them. I think CJ Carr is the next man up to potentially fulfill that. And I would even argue that his actual ability to throw the football, and you mentioned, recruiting doesn't matter, but just simply coming into college, spending a couple of years behind those transfer QBs has given him that ability to grow. And he's probably just about as natural of a thrower as those guys, if not even better. And I think for Notre Dame, that is something that they desperately need. If you want to take the passing game, just separate it from the rushing QB aspect that we saw last year with Riley Leonard, your guy is CJ Carr, if that's what you really want. If, we're going to invest in Jadarian Price and Jeremiah Love as those 2 backs in the backfield, and probably have we definitely have the best returning backfield in the nation. So you don't need your quarterback to be running. What do you need? You need help as far as the tight ends. They seem to be healthy. And who is going to be stepping up as far as that big play wide receiver? Well, if you give them CJ Carr, I think you give them the best chance to succeed. So that's why when I look at it as far as arm talent, confidence, ability to level this team up and kind of right some of the, maybe not wrongs, but the, inadequacies of the last couple of quarterbacks that have come in, despite the expectations, I think, CJ Carr is the answer for that.
Secretly, my hope is CJ Carr wins for a lot of the reasons that you laid out. Because I do think that if that top tier of talent that he might have is unlocked, it would mean Notre Dame has a quarterback that potentially could be drafted in the first round of the NFL draft. Right? I mean, that's the hope with somebody of CJ Carr's pedigree. CJ Carr played football like 25 minutes. He played in Saline, which is in our conference here, the SEC, comically enough. It's not a very good football conference. don't think he had any real Division I players on his team, and that was something that they talked about. I think the tight end might have had some offers. I don't know off the top of my head, but football in this Washtenaw County area that we live in, and it's all centered around the Ann Arbor schools. All stink. Pioneer stinks. Huron stinks. Skyline stinks. They don't put anybody into Division I college football. Michigan gets nothing from them. The only one of note I can really think of is Dalen Hayes, who went to Skyline, which is the worst of the three, but he was only here for his senior year. He's originally from California, I think. So I don't really count him. There's not a lot of talent. He didn't play a lot of talent. He didn't have a lot of talent with him. I find that to be kind of an interesting component of him, that it's a pretty big step up. So that's just my only counterpoint is he hasn't seen talent like this. My case for Kenny Minchey, though, I like his timing, and I think that that's an important thing, especially for a young quarterback early on. He, by accounts, he does like to run, but he likes to scramble as well. And I don't think that the spring game was a great venue for him to display his full depth of talent, because, where some quarterbacks, you can just get tapped, or you're not thinking about moving in the same way, because a touch can bring you down. So you can't scramble the same way that you want to. Maybe not even just to run, but to spin out of something. You can't do that because you know that a touch brings you down when you're wearing the green jersey. He adds a dynamic element to the offense that I think Denbrock wants in a quarterback, which is a true dual threat. Not to say that Carr doesn't have some ability to scoot, but I think Kenny Minchey's a little bit different, and he's not the same runner as Riley Leonard, which was more of a stand up and pound. He's more of a water bug kind of runner. He's significant. I think he's like, what is he, 6'2"? They list him at, but he's probably, if they list him at 6'2", he's probably 6'1". He's like 205 pounds. So you'd worry about him getting hit, but he gives that different dynamic that I think unlocks a good amount of the Denbrock playbook that he has in there. So I like that about him. I also like the fact that, of the players that I like, guys that have a chip, and for all of the three, the one who had the biggest chip on his shoulder was Kenny Minchey, because I wrote him off. You wrote him off. Everybody wrote him off coming into this spring battle. And there were times where reports were that he was the leader in the clubhouse with it. And he's got that chip where people in the media and the fans kind of just wrote him off, and they were like, when's Carr coming up? And I think that's a powerful tool that a lot of people, Mark D'Antonio for years made a Spartan program up in East Lansing out of finding guys that had a chip, just something to prove. And you see that all the time with guys when they get drafted in the NFL, and they're like, I'm going to remember everyone that didn't draft me. And that chip is sometimes something that gives you a little bit of an edge. So not only a skill set, having that dual threat, but also being a pretty accomplished passer. I like that. I like that, especially for a young quarterback, because if the arm isn't working, you can always fall back on the legs. So that's my sort of case for Kenny Minchey. If either one starts against Miami, I'm going to be pretty happy. I don't think that the wrong decision can be made. And I think that, the more I've thought about it, whoever starts is who I want to see finish. I think I don't want to go in there with like a, Zaire Kaiser, Texas game debacle where they're like splitting snaps and like scripted series. I don't want to see a red zone quarterback. I think red zone quarterback, people chasing that high of Chris Leak and Tim Tebow need to just stop. The Belldozer didn't work. This concept that you can have a red zone quarterback is absurd, especially for a young quarterback. Like, hey, young quarterback, we're pulling you into the game and bringing somebody off the bench cold. Like, I don't think that serves anyone well. Maybe have a few packages, in there and pull them out in spots. But if whoever wins the job, I hope they decide that it's outright, because I don't want to see split QB time. I don't want to see weird red zone packages. Just pick a winner, and then if they get hurt, you can slide to them, or if they struggle, slide to them. But whoever has it needs to feel like they have a leash, and it's not taunt.
Yeah, I really would hope going into the season that quarterback, whoever it is going to be the starter for the rest of the year. We were talking a little bit, and it was, I forgot if we said this before or during, but yeah, like there's not. I think there would be a really, really bad scenario if we went into the season and we felt like both of the guys should play, because then that just means that one didn't win it just outwardly. And that scares me a little bit, because that's, like you said, it's just not a sustainable product unless you have two all-time great college football quarterbacks, and it's like, it's not something that I would want to see, nor do I think something that really fits. Like you said, Kenny Minchey, his running ability is just different, and I think it would be better suited for him to actually be out there for the full drive because of his scrambling ability and everything like that. You're not going to have him in the red zone where he's just like trying to bulldoze people like Cam Newton.
That's not his game.
Leonard. Yeah,
that's not his game. He's not the runner like that. I do want to, it's a good point. I mean, we have seen the blue gold game, and then there was limited media availability for the press. So a lot of the reports come through state media. And then, the insiders that we have inside the Goog, Kenny Minchey was a thing before the blue gold game. Like Kenny Minchey, after that scrimmage that was available for the media, that was legitimately a thing. Like Kenny Minchey balled out, and through a lot of back channeling, it was made known that he might have had the best spring of the three quarterbacks, maybe. But he definitely had a spring that no one saw coming. So it is true. Most of what we were able to see is limited to the blue and gold game, other than some specific practice reports and, what's leaked out to the media, for public consumption or otherwise. But sometimes, with those reports where we'll hear something and you don't know if what you're hearing is to be put out there in order to push a narrative or to push a player as well. Because who's leaking that, and who's giving that information, and is that information being leaked for a specific purpose or what? So, yeah, I mean, we mostly have the blue gold game to go off of, but if it was solely the blue gold game, I don't think that there would be as much if there wasn't already smoke outside of it, because it wasn't a demonstratively, impressive performance, but coupled with what we've heard leading up to the game, I think that it bears mentioning. I don't think that, I think, and I hope that it is CJ Carr season. It's what I want, because it's the best possible scenario. But if it's Kenny Minchey, that would speak to something as well, because then he beat out Angeli, and then he beat out CJ Carr. And what does that say about Kenny Minchey? And that goes to my whole spiel about him having a chip. And that's something sometimes, and it's not like he was an untalented kid. We're not talking about a 3-star Ian Book here, who, the winningest all-time Notre Dame quarterback, not to besmirch him, but we're not talking about a 3-star here. I mean, Kenny Minchey in his own right is a 4-star quarterback, and a higher rated 4-star than Angeli was. So,
Yeah, no, 100%. If we go into this season with Minchey as the starter, he no doubt obviously earned it, but in a sense, like, was kind of working from behind, and that just should instill so much confidence into the fan base to be like, yeah, like, he has to have it. He has to have something, like, and he'll show it at some point whenever he's starting. I just think it's really important, like you mentioned, to understand perspective. Obviously, haven't been able to see everything that's gone on, and the blue gold spring game was just like the big thing of the spring that we, from the outside looking in, we're able to see, and we understand like that we're not going to know 100% about everything as far as who's going to win this battle and what exactly has been said, but we do know that these two guys played extremely well, and we, our eyes don't deceive us about the spring game, either too at the same point. I think if Minchey were to be the starter, obviously that would suck because I'd imagine CJ Carr would be in the transfer portal fairly soon, if not after the latest after the season. But Kenny Minchey would be a person that I would trust. That chip on his shoulder. I like that you mentioned it.
Yeah, I mean, and Fravel in the comments. I mean, you're right. I mean, CJ Carr was the best quarterback in the last 2 spring games. But what does that say if Kenny Minchey were to beat him out? And I just think that when you look at this quarterback battle and the way that it is, and the fact that both of them were able to, displace Angeli, I don't think that you can make a wrong decision. If Minchey beats out Carr, it is because Minchey is the better quarterback and the quarterback that they think is going to help Notre Dame win a national title. Because it's not about winning football games anymore. It is about winning national titles. And so the coaching staff, by eschewing, Angeli has signified we are in this to win a national title, and which quarterback can best get that job done. And if it's CJ Carr, that is fantastic. But if it's Kenny Minchey, that is also fantastic. So I think that this is a good problem to have. This is the kind of problem that good programs have. And I think that Notre Dame is in a spot that we haven't seen them since the early 90s, where they're in a position where you have no bad choice, right? Like we talked about it with the transfer portal. Like when guys leave, we absorb it's because we have so much talent accumulated. This is every year going forward for the foreseeable future. We're going to say, this is the most talented Notre Dame team that we have seen. Next year, same time, we're going to be on this channel, and we will be saying, this is the most talented Notre Dame team we will see. The next year, this is the most talented Notre Dame team that we have seen, because Marcus Freeman has elevated the recruiting and elevated the program and the player development, so that as long as Marcus Freeman is here, it is only an upwards trajectory. And the fact that he was able to get a national title berth out of last year's squad is ridiculous, and it's extremely exciting to look forward to the future.
Whoever gives us the best chance to win.